This administration is a nightmare, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, the 18th of June. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there, and make sure you take care of your father if you're lucky enough to still have him. I don't, but happy Father's Day, Dad. And as I said, this is like a nightmare. It just keeps getting worse and worse with this administration and with the indictments to President Trump, to the lack of indictments to President Biden and the crew and the rest. I think that we've got major issues that we refuse to address, and I think this is a push towards Marxism, communism. We continue to watch and listen to some ridiculously garbage numbers of the CPI and the PPI, which were out last week, and when you talk about the CPI, which is an inflation gauge, and it's a number that they use and is actually the Fed's target, which we'll get into those morons in a minute. But, if you believe, and again, you don't have to believe, if you're spending only 4% more this year than you were last year, well, then you're a very fortunate person. I would tend to say that is impossible. Okay. Considering that fuel is twice as much, and considering the prices at the grocery store, so I would have to call bullshit on the CPI number, and then I would then have to call bullshit on the Fed, okay, because of course they did pause this meeting, which was no surprise. We expected them to pause. That was what was really kind of priced in. But what are they really going to do, and how are they going to get that artificial CPI number that is at 4.2 or 4.1 down below 2? Well, the only way is to hike rates. Okay. Now, again, the truth is that we're in very tight credit conditions around the United States. We've got way too much debt, not only from our government, but to our citizens of this country. Because the Federal Reserve approached this manner by raising rates into a recession, they're now forced to continue, because we are not getting the natural growth that we need. We're getting artificial stimulation with a government and a Federal Reserve that created too much money, too much new money, that they now have to try to backtrack and make that money worth less. So it's a real problem when we look at it. But again, it's the tightening credit conditions, the lack of growth, the lack of the ability for a business to survive. This is a creation of this administration directly. Okay, this destruction of small business, this destruction of this country is directly correlated to this country. Okay, but as we look, we've got in industrial production signaling stagnation, and another new term this week. But the United States has become very stagnant. Now, again, I know you haters out there will be out there saying, well, it's the greatest country in the world. Well, I'm not going to argue with you on whether or not the United States is the greatest country in the world, because I do agree. But you are not supposed to move down to competition. You are supposed to be above the rest of the competition. And that's where I think too many of you make the calculated error of continuing to rely on those statements that this is the greatest place. The United States is the greatest place, and not because it's such a great place to be anymore, but because everywhere else is much worse. Now, if we just evaluate, some of the major cities across this country, Take a San Francisco. Look at San Francisco. Look at the destruction that is going on now. California itself, the state, okay, is one of the biggest proponents verbally of equal wealth and sharing of the wealth. In the meantime, there is no bigger state in this country that has a bigger wealth disparity from the rich to the poor. There is nowhere in this country that has as many homeless. And one of the greatest cities in the world, San Francisco, is now turned into a shithole. Okay, we can call it a one big toilet in San Francisco because the homeless and the drug addicts have overtaken it. Now, did that just happen by accident? You realize that you have hotels, big, expensive hotels, that have just walked away from the equity in their property and walked away from the city. AT&T is walking away, and of course, that is the ballpark in San Francisco. And I'm wondering what's going to happen to the ballpark now that they have totally destroyed the downtown area with the massive amount of homeless. And of course, we know who head up San Francisco and who head up that congressional district, which would be, only one Nancy Pelosi. So you can see how much she cared about taking care of this country by allowing this to happen. I mean, you have these emergency bailouts going out all over the place in banks. You've got destruction in sanctuary cities that we've now seen a busload now sent to LA from the border. And of course, we want to talk about how to take care of the border. Well, the first way to take care of the border is seal it, okay, and make people come in the way they're supposed to, okay. But I think that when you look back, okay, and you see what is going on, and obviously me being from Chicago, the city that has the tightest, strictest gun laws in the country, leads the country in shootings and in murders. So what does that tell us about ridiculous regulations as we are continuing to watch this administration of morons continue to try to push regulations down our throat on everything? Okay, markets and economies, they know how to price themselves and take care of business. Okay, they don't need some moron from the Federal Reserve or from the government telling us how to live. Okay, they need to worry about their own spending. We wouldn't have these debt ceiling debates if they didn't. If the government took care of their business the way that they should, we wouldn't be having these debt ceiling debates. We wouldn't be having these problems. We wouldn't be in a position now that we are in a horrible jobs market now. The interesting thing is the companies or the places that need help can't get it because people are too used to getting too many benefits from government, which is, again, the benefit is not coming from the government. The benefit is coming from you and me, the American taxpayer. Now, if you think about that, because what do we know? We know for a fact that government makes nothing but debt. The Federal Reserve makes nothing but debt. So we get the benefit of paying for it, okay? So the money is not free, but the money goes to the lazy that do not want to work and know that they can get paid off, okay? And that is really more of a way of buying votes and other things because, of course, why do you think that the government does it? Why do you think they're allowing in this mass amount of illegal immigrants? Because they let them vote as well. But, we look at some of the other factors that are going on. Real estate, the inventories are up, okay? The listings are down, and that just tells you that the cost of money has become now once again cost prohibitive. Okay, the cost of money is obviously what really prompted the housing market, and that is the part of the bubble building going back to Alan Greenspan. Okay, and then you have all this news, and then you get the words Cash is coming off the sidelines, Spurs hope bull run, right? Well, look, I would tell you that the bull run is probably pretty close to over, but there is always cash on the sidelines. Okay, this is the oldest piece of shit news that you can possibly get. There's always money to come into the market. Okay, so when you have these big banks and these big places trying to convince you, they're really trying to convince you to play in an environment that you can't win. Okay, they're putting you on the opposite side of what their positions are, and we know that they have much more control because they have much more money. Okay, but the stocks, the markets are ignoring the recession that we're in. Okay, I think that the market is way too optimistic. Okay, on the pace of inflation. This inflation is not over, and I think this is something you have to think about. It's only going to get worse. We've been fortunately, we're very unfortunate with the way things are set up, but we've been very fortunate the last few months with OPEC cutting production of crude. That crude isn't back over $100 a barrel. Okay, and of course your 401ks are basically much lower this year, because what's really driving the market is just a few stocks. A handful of AI stocks are driving this. So, look, here's the bottom line. We have to stop with the sanctuary cities. We have to stop with the bullshit. We have to get back to real law and order. It's that simple. Law and order will fix the problems, or many of the problems, that ail Americans. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Todd Bubba Horowitz. It is Sunday, June the 18th. We're going to stop out here for a break and be back with our market report right after this. What's up, kids? I hope you're having a great week. And, of course, we've got markets that continue. And, we have our sponsors for the show. And, as you know, the sponsors that I have are vetted through me. I'm a user of them. And there are a couple of brokers. And our brokers are people that we believe in, that get great service. And again, I have other brokers, but I can go anywhere I want. But I go here because it's the best for me, which means if it's the best for me, it's probably the best for you too. But anyways, the two partners are Capital Trading Group, which is for futures and commodities. And listen, they got the best customer service. They're partners in our Day Traders Dream program. They do our LOD, or letter of direction trading. Check them out. info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. And their info is scrolling around the sides, along with Trade Your Brokerage. And where else you can get a broker to trade options and equities for $10 a month flat? Where else you can get a broker that you can get your equity portfolios that we trade automated for free, so that you're letting the broker handle it electronically or through the computer, and you're not paying anywhere in $10 a month for that either. Think about those things. Think about the customer service, which is really the most important thing, and that's Trade Your Brokerage. And check them out. $10 a month flat's what they charge. Try.trader.com/Bubba. All you do is look down the side if you missed the website that I spoke. And of course, our high school program, which again is another major issue in this country, education. And we're trying our best, but we're having trouble getting cooperation, but we're making our one last push. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, Todd Bubba Horowitz, and of course, our market report. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, June the 18th, and happy Father's Day to all. And, markets had an interesting week. I mean, they're basically unstoppable. They continue to run up the pole and keep going higher. I mean, the NASDAQ has been pushing up like crazy, along as the rest. Now, of course, as you know, we are along all four of the major indexes, so obviously good for us. But it is getting a little bit crazy, and you can almost bet that you will see some sort of a sell-off here. Now, again, I'm not telling you that the trend is going to change. I would suggest you're going to see probably this week a sell-off. Now, the one quirk in this week is that there's Juneteenth, which don't get me started, but the markets are closed on Monday, tomorrow. Okay, Okay, so as we look at the indexes, we are long the four major indexes, and of course, the dollar, which we do not trade anymore, but we would be short dollars. Okay, we are long euro currencies. We are short Bitcoin, which again, Bitcoin, you laugh and you know that I'm a believer, and I'm telling you that I'm a believer, but I would not put in more money than I was willing to lose. However, with all of the bad news that we've watched come out over Bitcoin over the last couple of weeks, you would think it might have gone down, and it's really not. It's really still in the same range, but we are still short. Bonds and notes are still under some pressure, and again, that is going to lead to higher interest rates, which again, I believe that the 10-year notes are getting to 6%. The metals remain weak, and it's an interesting dichotomy when we look at different things. But I think you have to remember that correlations to markets don't mean they have to be today. Okay, one commodity or product can move well ahead or well behind the correlating assets. And I think too many people make that mistake. Right now, the trend in gold and silver and platinum are all down. Okay. So again, you can either hold your precious metals, okay, or wait to buy. I would not be, or be short. That's the position you should be in. Copper is trying to push up the corners at $4 again, and we're long copper. Nat gas we're going to reverse that either now. The markets are open partially tonight. The indexes will be open. All the stuff that is going to affect the foreign trade, because of course Europe's going to be open tomorrow. So I would say that again, you can reverse your natural gas tonight if that's up to you. You can do it on Monday tomorrow, or you can do it on Tuesday morning when CTG will do ours. I don't know. It really doesn't matter, I don't think. Okay. In the meantime, crude oil had a little bit of a pop, but is still in a pretty good downtrend. But as we said here, OPEC was in a cut again, and they did last week. And so you have to wonder, why is oil not charging higher? Okay, after OPEC cut again. Well, that says what's going on in the economy. That tells you how slow and how bad this economy is. Okay. As we look into the grain markets, okay, grains I think have found a bottom. As we said last week, I thought they found a bottom, and they had some pretty big charges up this week. Now, I'm gonna say that you're probably seeing a little bit too much parabolic move, and the move at the end of last week might have been related to weather, the long holiday weekend. So we'll see. In the meantime, we're long across the board, corn, wheat, and beans. In the cattle markets, cattle remain strong. Now, we no longer trade cattle, but it's still in an uptrend. And of course, fundamentally, there's a short supply. There's a lot of bad things happening, which is what's keeping price higher. But hogs have also seemed to have bottomed. And if we are in those products, we'd be long all three. We are still long cocoa, which was higher. We are still long coffee, which was mixed. We are still short OJ, which was lower. We are still short sugar, which was lower, and of course we're still long cocoa. So, as we look at the sauce, I just think you have to remember that the markets are going to trade how they trade, and if you try to outsmart, outthink, or outguess them, you're going to lose your ass. So please just let the markets dictate. Let the chart lead you. Let the footprint of the market lead you, and remember that nobody's going to make you have to trade. Pick your spots. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, June the 18th. Todd Bubba Horowitz with you. We're going to stop out here for our final break and be back with our commentary. So, kids, as you know, at this spot in this break in the show, every time I don't go through all this stuff again, I'm just going to tell you that I use two great brokers. I have many brokers, but my two favorites and the two that are most beneficial to me from a commission standpoint, from a public service, a customer service standpoint, and to take care of my members are Capital Trading Group, futures and commodities. And by the way, if you're trading all futures, commodities, and options and stocks, you should really have a futures broker and an equity broker. There is not one broker that I know yet that is capable of doing both satisfactory. In the meantime, and for equities, trade your brokerage, $10 a month. How can you beat it? And both of their websites are scrolling along the sides. and of course our high school program, which again we're big advocates and big believers and have spent a fortune, but it appears that we cannot get teachers to teach. It appears that we cannot get to the unions to have them teach these programs that we are donating to the schools, but we're giving it one last shot. Let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, your host, Todd Bubba Horowitz, and my commentary. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, June the 18th, and it's Father's Day, of course. And, you know, there's so many things to talk about in this country right now, and unfortunately, none of them are good. I don't know any good news that I could actually report that would make me feel comfortable about where this country is headed. And, you know, when I look at the sanctuary cities, when I look at the illegal immigration, when I look at the imbecile that is in charge of this country right now, and when I look at the legal system that is ignoring one and pounding on another, it really makes you have to think that you are leaving democracy and going into communism, Marxism. And you may think, hey, he's a dumbass, that Bubba, he don't know what the hell he's talking about. Well, just if you're my age, look back and think about all the freedoms you have given up, whether you've given them up voluntarily or you've given them up through government regulations and laws. But certainly, now that you can be tracked like a LoJack, like they put a LoJack up your ass to follow you everywhere you go. If you carry a smartphone, they know where you're at. They know where you've been. And I'm really worried about the lack of freedom. I'm really worried about assholes like Bill Gates meeting with Xi, the head of the leader of China. Okay, what the hell are they going to talk about? To me, we have a lot of worries and a lot of concerns, and if we continue to ignore them, this nightmare that we have will get worse, and worser. This is Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, June the 18th. Happy Father's Day, and of course, not a lot of sports to talk about right now, so we got not much, but we gave you a couple of good golfers that are in play. And we'll have some College World Series plays for this week. But in the meantime, enjoy your Father's Day. For those who are fathers, have a great weekend. And as always, I thank you. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. We'll see you on Tuesday with Bubba's Day Update. Adios, everybody.